Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Ethereal Alkalarian Podcast. Got my co-host Grace with me.
Hello, episode number 5.
We hope you guys are all doing well out there. So much crazy stuff going on in the world. It's almost hard to keep up with these days.
Yeah, it feels like a fever dream most days.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, let's jump back into this. The first thing we're going to go over today, we have illegal migrants attacking NYPD cops making arrest at NYC migrant shelter. Let's check this out. Wonder what he did to get arrested in the first place. To actually get arrested.
I mean, probably something pretty bad.
Right.
Because I feel like they turn a blind eye most of the time.
They're completely outnumbered. What's gonna happen when all these migrants decide to turn on?
Right,
on
I
more
mean,
officers?
this is the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Yeah, it's a small shelter.
it's only projected to go a worse way. Goodness.
Some type of pottery they threw at them. Now they're throwing luggage,
Jeez.
full backpack. Just whacked that police officer in the face. It's out of control.
Yeah, total lack of respect.
And he's not cooperating at all with the officer's attempt to arrest him. They're pelting him with water bottles. I feel like he's having a hard time subduing this illegal immigrant. Notice once again, it's like 95% men. How many women have you seen in this migrant shelter?
Right.
I see 2 in the back.
But seriously, an overwhelming amount of just men. I mean, if you're really in crisis, you're really going to leave your whole family back home?
Right.
Or are you coming here to try and make money to send back? Because I think there's a difference.
Some of them are probably fleeing their own country too, because they're criminals.
Right.
Like, have you heard about the prisons in, what was it? I think it was Argentina or Venezuela. The prisons that they have over there.
I have to stop you. It froze.
Okay, can we fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was recently watching a documentary about one of these prisons. And I believe it was Argentina. I could be wrong. But somewhere in South America. And the government is at war with the gangs down there. So they've been arresting a lot of people, putting them in max security prisons down there. A lot of the citizens are complaining because their loved ones have been missing for a long time. They're claiming that there's no due process, and they're worried that it could lead to silencing opposition during an election and whatnot. But these are the countries that they're fleeing from. A lot of these people are actually criminals, so
Right.
go ahead and unmute it. I think we've seen enough of this one. You guys get the picture.
For sure.
Let me just go ahead and make it so it's just us there. I'm gonna look this up real quick. War on gangs. Oh, El Salvador. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if these people are fleeing their country because they're criminals,
Mm-hmm.
I think they just think in their criminal mind, like, oh, I can come to America and can continue what I'm doing, but flee whatever I'm escaping back home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like, what kind of culture is that going to create in America if these people are just coming here to? It's just
Oh yeah, there's no law
terrible.
and order here. It's gonna be hell on earth. This is quickly turning into a third world country. You know.
Right.
The price of El Salvador's war on gangs. Check this one out, you guys. It's very interesting. Play just a little bit of it now.
Is La Campanera. It used to be one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the most dangerous city in one of the most dangerous countries in the world, El Salvador. El Salvador has been known as the murder capital of the world. Just to get an idea, in 2015, the murder rate in El Salvador was higher than any country on earth and more than 20 times higher than the US.
Sounds great. Let's just let them all in our country, shall we?
But right now, La Campanera feels downright safe, in large part due to a big police presence.
In just 3 years, we have fulfilled the country's dream of going from being one of the most dangerous countries in the world to being one of the safest countries in the region.
Gang-related murders in El Salvador have plummeted to their lowest levels this century, and almost every person attributes it to this man. El Salvador's Nayib Bukele. Since coming to power, his tactics have
How old do you
led to
think
the
he is?
arrest of a
He looks
higher
probably in
percentage
his
of its
early 30s,
population
right?
than
Yeah.
any country in the world. 75,000 people and counting.
Wow. Countries with highest prison population per 1,000 inhabitants. Wait, that includes America? 'Cause I thought America had the most people in prison.
Than any country in the world. 75,000 people and counting.
Interesting. We're no longer known for our gangs or for our criminal groups, or as for the land of the dead, but now we are El Salvador. The country has achieved a total miracle.
Most citizens in El Salvador love Bukele, with his approval rating reaching as high as 92%, and the envy of
un intercambio, digamos, de esas
So yeah, check this out. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was the price of El Salvador's war on gangs
Right.
on YouTube. You weren't typing.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Wrong backdrop.
Oh. Go ahead. Oh wait, my bad. Okay, go ahead.
Is it gonna work this time?
Yeah, you were. It was clicked on OBS before, so you're
Alright.
typing on on that.
Cool. So you just reminded me of this other video I wanted to go back to real quick. MMA Guru. Jeez, he's got so many videos. It'll be hard to find this one.
I was gonna say he's always online.
Right. Constantly covering him.
Was it this week?
No, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, you're just in the 2 weeks ago category.
Oh, I'm in the latest, so.
Yeah, like see 2 weeks, 13 days, 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
May have been this one. That wasn't the thumbnail that I'm used to seeing, but I think, yeah, I think it's that one. Let me play this one for a second. Looking for this Octagon interview with Renato Moicano.
Hopefully the UFC doesn't take down this video because I'm using this, but have a listen.
Check it out. Thank you.
Hey, MMA Guru, you are pig. You say I would get slapped by the judobe.
Just calls me. I've been of you.
That's crazy. You called him out.
Yeah! Splash. I'm playing. Predicted I can't this Harry. other UFC fighters.
Okay,
Who are wondering why they couldn't believe this. But
that's not what I was looking for exactly. Renato Moicano post-fight interview. I guess this is what I should have just looked up from the get-go. 2 weeks ago. Let's watch this one.
Here with Money Moicano. Moicano.
My father is 62 years old and he had a baby yesterday. So, bora papai, eu te amo, seu filho da puta. 62 anos botando um menino pra jogo. Eu vou ter que ter um outro filho. I'm telling him, tomorrow when I get home, I'm gonna get my wife pregnant another time. Because if my fucking father, 62 years old, can populate the world, I can too. Money Moicano 3 is coming.
That's some good genetics, Money
Let me tell
Moicano.
another thing. I love and fucking America, you know? I'm not American, but I will be. My green card is 3 years. In 2 years, I will be a fucking American. And after I'm done with fighting, I will serve on the police officer. I want to be a SWAT team, and I want to fucking kill the bad guys. Make no mistake. That is right, and that is fucking wrong. And people are forgetting about that. People are going crazy. That's why I want more kids. I want people to go to the church. I want people to respect the fucking law. Otherwise, this great country in the world is gonna be a third world country. And I don't want that, motherfuckers.
Dang, I got chills.
Something's fucking wrong in America. And I want you motherfuckers to fix it right now. On the last thing, I have a channel. If you support Brazil, if you support America, Money Moicano channel right fucking now. Subscribe on YouTube. The best fucking content in the fucking world. Hey, MMA Guru, you are fucking pig. You say I would get...
Yep. Shout out Renato Moicano.
Wow.
Going about it the right way. 3 years, he said, until he becomes an American, gets his green card, and he wants to kill all the criminals. So,
I mean,
shout out to
it's
him.
crazy because if you looked at everyone in the background, they're all like laughing. He's so dead serious.
Yeah, he is.
Man.
That was awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in what he said. I mean, if you just look around at what's happening, it's really on the trajectory to losing this great nation, you know?
Right. Lawless.
But I think so many people don't want to see that happen as well.
Mm-hmm.
We need more people to become aware of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching videos on YouTube of America in the early 1900s. So amazing.
Yeah.
We've fallen so far from grace. It's
Right. I mean, even just was it Renato?
Mm-hmm.
What he was just saying. I mean, people really, so many people have really lost what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, the morality of people's judgment and their actions is just gone to shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it has. Because there's a full attack on the family unit, on religion, on spirituality, on God. We have these demonic entertainers who are, like basically sold their souls for fame. Because the people who control that, the media, the entertainment industry, the people with the money and power who put these people in a position to influence the masses, that's what they're all about.
Right. And if you look at like kids and your mentality when you're like a teenager, you like are looking up to the people that are put in front of you.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't really have the conscious mind just yet to really see through all the bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, the people that they're putting on these pedestals who have, like you said, sold their soul, is just corrupting generations.
Yeah, it's really sad.
But I mean, I pray that all turns around.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Want to play this?
Sure. This was another incident where illegal immigrants attacked police officers in New York. It's an update on the case. Go ahead and play it.
This case are members of a brutal
Turn
Venezuelan
it up.
gang That gang is called Tren de Aragua. Federal authorities saying this is just proof that gang members are making it across the southern border. Wilson Juarez and Kelvin Servita Arocha in court today in Lower Manhattan are members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, according to ICE. The two are part of the migrant mob accused of beating and kicking two NYPD
Kicking him in the
officers
head like a
Times
soccer
Square
ball.
last month. ICE telling me today that Juarez should not have even been in the U.S. A judge in
kidding.
El Paso, Texas, ordered him deported a year ago. Now they, along with 5 others in this case, are behind bars at Rikers. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg asking the judge for bail since the suspects have been indicted.
Our criminal justice system did its job. These individuals are all behind bars where they belong.
After their initial arrest, Juarez and Arocha were released without bail by DA Bragg, along with your...
They don't even speak English. They have translator headphones on, you know?
Right.
And, like, I mean, if you do it the legal way and you still haven't picked up English, like, whatever. But, I mean, it just shows, like, these people don't even understand the processes that America has had set in stone. They're just coming here thinking, oh, I'm land of the free. That means I can do what I want.
Right.
Like, no, it doesn't. We have our rules here, and that's why we are a great nation, because we have things set up in a certain way, you know. And they just think they can come here, but because there's so many of them, you know.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yorman Reveron and Darwin Gomez Esquiel. Esquiel was arrested again this week and charged with shoplifting at a Macy's in Queens.
They should have never been released. The DA in the case should have requested bail. The judge
At least.
should have kept them behind bars.
Yohenry Brito was the only suspect who was sent to Rikers on $15,000 bail after the beating in January. A source telling me that he was released this week after an activist pastor from a Brooklyn church posted his bail. However, he is now back in Rikers while authorities investigate the source of that money.
Good.
Police body cam video shows the interaction with...
I mean, good, but they're also just going to keep filling up prisons and keep putting money towards people. These, like, when you're a bed in prison,
Yeah. Great point.
That's money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that money has to come from somewhere. Like, no, this isn't even, like, yes, they've done something wrong. They deserve to be punished for their crime.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this isn't going to end well, regardless,
Right.
if we're locking them up, you know?
Well, they should be the first ones deported.
Exactly. Like, they need to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to be filling up prison space here either.
Serious.
with the officers and the migrants on January 27th. Officers had instructed the group not to block the sidewalk and to move along. Some of the suspects' lawyers raising questions as to whether police overreacted.
I think it's undisputed that physical contact in this case was initiated by a police officer.
The bottom line is that this individual didn't comply with a New York City police officer.
That lawyer's trying to be like, the cops started it. Like, yeah,
Right.
It's their job.
What happened to the other picture?
It's down, the last one.
Okay. So I'm glad to see that justice was served in that case, somewhat.
Right. I mean, as much as they can be doing at this moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating to see all these people taking advantage and getting away with it.
Right. I even think, like, say Trump does come into
Malcolm X. You don't.
Trump does come into presidency,
Mm-hmm.
and he does try to do this huge deportation. Like, how the heck are they gonna do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. I can only hope.
you know, me too.
Mhm.
I just think of the actual logistics when it comes down to it.
Right.
I mean, what a mission.
Yeah. As was it Patrick Ben David put it? It said he's gonna have to be the chief deporter, something like that. I forget exactly how he said it.
Right.
Got me looking it up right now. They did a whole segment about it. Dang it. Well, you guys can go check it out.
The PPD podcast did a segment on it.
PBD, Patrick Bet David. Oh well.
Yeah, you guys should go check it out.
Yeah, moving on. Shout out Renato Moicano again. I was checking this out earlier.
That by me simply going to have a good time around people that look like me and they know me and all those things, come from the same neighborhoods I'm from, that the likelihood of something happening is extremely high. So it's like you got some decisions to make, especially if you're pulling up in something that looks nice.
I do understand that those bourgeoisie black people do have an obligation to their communities, but at what point as a man am I going to prioritize the safety of my own family? Everybody want to play the blame game. But with 79% of black babies being born out of wedlock, that's something we're deciding to do to ourselves. And how are you going to compete? How is a single mother household going to compete with an Asian American household that has 2 incomes? And unfortunately, America is a capitalistic society. It's pay to play. If your economics ain't right, you will not be taken serious. How are you going to raise good leaders to represent your community on the national stage if you don't have families? The civil rights movement was backed by family economics. You don't get a Martin Luther King. You don't get a Malcolm X. You don't get a Black Panther Party without black families that are able to finance them. So maybe instead of telling our kids, fuck the police, you inspire some of those kids to become police officers so they can police their own communities.
Facts, 1,000%. And plus, I just now came across a video where it was like 13 young black men who was jumping another black dude. This black dude he was a social worker. He was a social worker that was leaving their school. And they decided to jump this dude, man. They decided to jump him. And the guy that was recording it was a grown man, another grown black man. And instead of him stopping the recording to stop this social worker from being he was laughed in because they're going to call. They want to that phone encouraging them.
Put safe with a bunch of single mothers. It just ain't gonna happen. The black community got a lot of work to do before we can start blaming other communities on our problem.
Fact.
Because how I see it at this point, we are our biggest problem.
You gotta say what's good. Wanna be on my roster, but it's my good.
I've been accused of having sold out. And I find this actually quite interesting because I've actually given this a great deal of thought. Black marriage rates were significantly higher before the civil rights movement compared to after. Children were more likely to grow up in a 2-parent household before the civil rights movement as opposed to after. Black men were more entrepreneurial and more self-reliant before the civil rights movement as opposed to after. And so for me, when I look at my own life and I look at my own values, they are more indicative of the average Southern black man prior to the civil rights movement. And so I haven't sold out. I've kept in continuation with my father, with my great-grandfathers and my great-great-grandfathers. I'm a continuation of that. I've maintained that culture. If anyone has sold out, it's you all. It's black culture.
Go ahead, bruh. Facts, 1,000%. Because it was at a time when our great-great-grandparents or great-grandparents was trying to make moves to put us in position so that we can thrive, so that their generations after them, that they produced, that they created, will be okay because they cared about stuff like that. So yes, my grandparents were married. Robert and Mary Hall. They were married and they had like 13 kids. And those kids, some of them got it and some of them didn't. Some
13
of them
kids.
Decided to move away and start families and get married and do things the right way, have careers. And some of them decided, I'm going to have a whole family full of criminals and I'm going to help them out. And I'm going to show them how to commit crimes the right way. And we're going to stay in these neighborhoods because we're going to run these neighborhoods. And from that, a great, and rest in peace to my family. Look, it's not a good thing to say because this is what happens. It's just, this is a part of the cycle. Those parents who decided, my aunts and uncles who decided to live that way and say, I'm just going to allow my kids to run rapid and do whatever the hell they want to do around these streets. I'm even going to help them. Matter of fact, I might even be a customer of theirs when they're selling. I might buy some of it from them.
Stop it.
Some of their kids died way earlier than they were supposed to. way sooner. Yeah, by being in the game, so to speak. But the ones who got out of there, got married, and made sure that they want to continue that success that their grandparents and great-grandparents started, they were considered the black sheep of the family or the sellouts of the family. Not even recognizing that, the people that went astray and decided to F up their great-great-grandparents' legacy, they were the sellouts. Black culture supports this. They support this selling out. I got a video I'm going to show y'all later of a young football team. It look like they're probably like a 11U, 11 under football team. And I want y'all to listen to what they were saying to get ready for their game. Extremely disrespectful. And the parent realizing that
Spirit, the family unit, y'all sold out of that in pursuit of what? The entertainment industry's version of what black culture is. If voting is any kind of measure of where a person stands in terms of how they identify, the fact that 90+% of black folks vote for Democrats, the party that basically reinforces everything the entertainment industry says black culture is, if anyone has sold out, it's those who insist upon the modern entertainment culture that you now call black culture. I'm not the one who sold out, sir. You are.
My thoughts exactly. Everything that made Black
that was
American.
it. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I mean it's so true. Even if you just look around, the music industry, and people not wanting to be snitches, and they're scared of being demonized for choosing the right path. You know, it's like cool to be a baby mama in their culture.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean that spreads into white people, white kids, you know, as well.
Yeah.
It spreads into everyone. They think that the family unit is not normal. You know what I mean? When that's what we need to go back to.
Yeah. Which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that these ridiculous figures that they put up in a position to influence the masses are doing the work of the devil, essentially, you know?
Right. They're just destroying what could be so great for people, individuals, people who are never going to see that kind of fame or money, maybe, you know, and they're brainwashed to throw their life away.
But then there's the fact that they've made it so difficult to be able to afford a family nowadays, you know?
Right.
Just like this guy was saying, his grandma had 13 kids or something, you know? And
right. When it comes down to housing, feeding.
Right. And that's that global capitalism from the you-know-who's who've infiltrated our government.
Right.
That make it, you know, this way for our own country, for our own citizens, our own country, not to mention the fact that they're trying to replace us. You know what I'm saying? White people. And they're pushing all this white guilt and, you know, it's just ridiculous. It's funny you mentioned the snitching thing, too, because this guy with the red hat here, he was actually talking about, like, making that point, how, you know, they need to be holding each other accountable. It must have been just before he started talking about them becoming police officers and policing their own communities, you know. So.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly, because, I mean, wouldn't that be great, them going in and policing their own community, but they're not trying to throw each other under the bus when they're doing wrong, you know? They turn a blind eye.
They need to raise the bar and do just that, hold each other accountable and fix, you know, the dirt that's in their community.
Right.
But, you know, I can only hope the best. It's you know, it's a big issue, that's for sure.
Right.
Whether it's genetic, you know,
and I feel like even when they must look at it as in 2 + 2 = 4, like they must see that they're being shown all this imagery and all this entertainment, and they're harnessing that, you know? I mean, I can't imagine feeling good about that, knowing that you've been brainwashed by forced entertainment.
Right.
You know?
And most of them don't know who really controlled the entertainment industry and the media. And I feel like now it's becoming more common knowledge.
Yeah.
That's why the programming isn't as effective as it once was.
Right. And even Candace Owens said in one of her videos in the past few days, like, the propaganda isn't hitting anymore.
Exactly.
Because it's just not, like, I think so many more people are just seeing through it and being like, what the heck? Like, it clearly looks like something they're trying to put a message in, you know?
And as hard as they try to suppress the truth,
Yeah.
and keep people from getting exposure, whenever they speak out against these things, like we still have the option to go find it. Like, the truth is there for those who want to find it, basically,
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Thought that was a cool video. And there's this push that's going on. Let's see, what did I want to go to? Oh yeah, this here. One more. Or a couple more videos, actually, we're going to go into. Check this one out. This is a guy, Tyler Oliveira, who was documenting the chaos on the streets of San Francisco. This was from 8 days ago. And he made a good point this person he was talking to made a great point. And I feel like this is something we should share with you guys. Check it out.
I don't think so. Bullet in hand, right across the street was the Tenderloin police station. Question for you. Is it risky to do like drugs in front of the police station out here? Or do they not do anything? They don't do anything?
It's not the police fault. It's really not. They really want to do something. It's the Board of Police Commissions and the Board of Supervisors, particularly a Dean Preston.
Said particularly Dean Preston. Let's check out Dean Preston here. Let's just do what I always do.
Are you kidding me?
I told myself I was gonna keep it YouTube approved on this one, but we'll see what happens. Hey, this is just facts. I didn't write this about him. He wrote this about him.
Yeah, this is the CaliforniaGlobe.com.
Yeah, so let's see. But this is what I was looking for right here. There you go. These are the people that are.
And he is the supervisor, the city councilman of District 5 in San Francisco.
Yep.
So
there's
he
that.
supervises what's happening in the streets.
It's a common thread. If you see like a lot of this stuff, and you look back to the source of it all, I'm just noticing patterns here and pointing it out.
Right. Who has control over these policies?
Don't go bat me.
That affect the people of these cities and towns.
The supervisor in this district says, let them stay like this. Leave them alone. If they want to get high, let them get high. Let them get high until they die.
Will you follow your own Department of Public Health's advice and end punitive policies specifically arresting and incarcerating drug users that increase fatal overdoses?
Another white man who's talking about black and brown people as if
he's not white. He's
if you're the savior of those people.
Imagine if a white person was up there and there was a black man trying to speak, and the white person was
another black man.
Yeah, that would not fly.
Can you imagine?
Damn, she's ugly.
For them. At the end of the day, you've never lived in it. You've never experienced it.
I used to be one of the
She's right,
growing
but
up that always
she's not right about
the
one
police.
thing.
I grew up saying that. I don't believe in that no more. I really like this police station and these police. It's just that their hands are tied right now. They want to come out here and move this. Trust me, they get disgusted when they walk outside and they see this. Disgusted that they can't help them the way that they want to help
Horrible.
them. Because the Board of Supervisors and the Police Commission say, no, leave them alone. You see, this is a charter school right here, right? There was a dead body right here 4 days ago.
Question for you.
That's
What
just
are your thoughts
awful.
on your tent being right across from a school?
Oh, I didn't really know it was right across from the school.
I see.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're only here for like a couple days. We're actually getting an apartment in a few days.
Oh, okay, congratulations. And as JJ and I walked through the trash, feces, broken glass, and homeless encampments right across from the kindergarten through 8th grade school, one of the many Honduran drug dealers, notorious for running every block in the Tenderloin for the last few years, staring us down and stalking us across the street. In fact, these guys are making so much money selling drugs here, they're causing a housing boom back home in Honduras where they send their money back to. Are we in the clear, Custom?
We in the clear.
Yeah?
He by himself. They run in packs. So when it's a group of them, that's when they only go do
Why don't
something.
we get out of here? JJ, I'm gonna be real. I'm not
So
loving the
while
looks I'm getting
American
from the,
people,
Mondo
American
guys.
veterans, American people that need help can't afford to live in their own country, forced to be on the street for whatever reason, all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people that come in, make money off those people, and send it back to their home country.
Yep. Yeah, and they're literally killing them. Right there, 752 deaths. Wonder if that's just this year from overdoses in San Francisco. So it's tragic. And this is something that's been frustrating to me for the longest. Is even before this illegal immigration situation became this crisis that it is today. It's like knowing, working in the construction field and being the only white person on a job site, oftentimes the only person who speaks English, oftentimes the only person who was born in this country,
right?
Working around all these people who are willing to work for less money because they live together. Basically, they're not, and they're willing to live in subpar, basically, if you want to call it that, in worse living conditions because they're only going to be here for a short amount of time because they're sending all their money back to their homeland,
right?
Where they're able to buy land and retire,
right?
And support their families and have their families living very, comfortable. Meanwhile, this is my homeland and I'm barely able to get by,
right? And it cheapens your labor,
right? Yeah,
when you don't have that luxury to one day retire somewhere else, like this is where you are,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're lowering the wages down. They're taking up the housing. They're just, the job sites are like, no one wants. They say white people don't want to do these jobs. It's not that white people don't want to do the jobs. It's that the illegal immigrants are willing to do it for much less.
Yeah.
And willing to have a lower quality of life in this country because this isn't where they plan on staying,
Right.
And the money that they're sending back goes a lot farther than the money that, we have to get by here. So,
right.
And, yeah, also white people, there was jobs before I got in the solid trade. There were times when I went and applied for a job and I'm the only white person there. The person interviewing me is Mexican. They're not going to hire me, even though if anything, I was overqualified oftentimes.
Right.
But I wouldn't have fit in with the rest of the guys.
Right. And they want one of their own.
Right.
To make the day go by.
So it's not that white people don't want to get these jobs. It's that they're not getting these jobs because they don't fit in with the rest of the workers.
Right. Or even you have someone who's lived out and they think that, we need to give jobs to people that aren't white.
Yeah.
Because they're so full of white guilt. They want to have reparations and they want to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's so many factors of
yeah.
across this country. I mean,
of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that goes on different levels of
right.
Just like in the government, they have all these what do you call it, diversity hires or something.
Right.
And these people aren't even qualified for the positions. What did Candace Owens say that she didn't want to?
Candace Owens was saying, if I got on a plane and I saw that the pilot was black, I would probably get off. And that's not to say there aren't people who are black that may be qualified, but in this day and age, because they're hiring so many diversity hires,
mm-hmm.
How do you know that person's actually qualified?
Right.
For any job. How do you know that they're not just being brought in because of their skin color?
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was a time when everything was so beautiful. I go into some of these homes that were built over 100 years ago, and the design, the detail, the woodwork, the craftsmanship.
Yeah.
It's just next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not going to get that from these people who are working for dirt cheap, who don't really give a fuck about,
yeah, they're just
this country.
Trying to get it done.
Yeah.
They don't care about the authenticity of their work.
So there's that factor as well. But Yeah, Bay Area drug sales fueling housing boom in Honduras. Wow. Guess that's just a video there. Insanity. So much. We got to put America first, people. We got to get these people out of positions of power and authority who really have no business in there, because they're only taking advantage of the system, and they're not looking out for our best interest, you know?
Right.
All these people who are attacking the founding fathers and the ideals of this country are really enemies of the state that need to be held accountable. There was a time when these people would have been hung.
Absolutely.
For treason, you know.
And if you really try to think about like your kids, your great grandchildren, like what kind of society do you want them to live in? And if we keep going the way we're going with how things are being run right now, I mean, it's just not going to be pretty.
Yeah. Definitely.
And we've spent a long time, many years, creating a society that's good, you know, and it's just all going to shit.
Yep. So, which leads to this next topic: demons in church, outrage over trans activist funeral at St. Patrick's Cathedral. St. Patrick's Cathedral, a very famous Catholic church in New York that's held weddings for presidential figures. I think it was one of the Kennedys. I forget who exactly, but was married there.
So a trans activist died, and this is their funeral?
This is their funeral that was held in this church, and the church had no idea that it was for a trans activist. And this is what went down.
Patrick's Church, yes?
By the way, that guy looks like the Undertaker. Go ahead, play.
No. Make sure you show the big black man woman as well.
No, it's one of the village people.
This whore. Oh my God.
This great whore.
Yep.
Demons in church.
Saint Cecilia, mother of all whores.
Is that the devil in the back? Look at the guy wearing the red suit. Is that the devil?
Looks like it. Look at that smirk on his face.
What? Dude, I wouldn't be surprised. If lightning struck in there, I wouldn't be surprised. What blasphemous shit is this?
Do you have any other speeches?
I mean, just when you thought...
I can only imagine being that person's parents. Like, the heartbreak. I mean, trying to deal with the fact they're trans is one thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're not even around.
Well, I mean, can you imagine, though?
No.
And then people saying this in church about your kid.
Right.
Or your family member. That's just, like, I mean, say what you want in private and whatever, but to do this in a church.
Right. It's despicable.
It's awful.
Yeah.
And all these people cheering. Church is just full of people celebrating what they just said.
The world has gone mad. It's like a progression. Like, I wouldn't believe this with my own eyes if I hadn't lived through, you know, the pandemic and was the only person in the store without a mask on, like getting screamed at by people to tell me to wear a mask when I'm like, have you seen the numbers? It's like a 99% recovery rate. Like, you guys, you know, even deep into it, like, you guys don't know it's actually worse to be wearing a mask, like breathing your own, you know, carbon
dioxide.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, like I said at the beginning of this episode, it truly feels like a fever dream.
It's
like every day, every way you turn, everywhere you look, it's just madness and nonsense.
Yeah, but you know, we have to keep fighting for the future generations, and these people are not having kids, so I think they are going to be dying out, and you know, we are going to have a revival of this great nation with access to the information. Like, I'm confident that in my lifetime I will see a huge shift.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm doing this for.
You know? Right, me too. I mean, I know that if we're sane, I know there's other sane people out there.
Oh, for sure. They try to make us feel like the minority, but you know, these people might be a little bit louder and more brash and a little more flamboyant.
Right.
But when shit pops off, they definitely don't stand a chance. So
Right. I mean, these are the people that are trying to get into kids' minds as well, though. And that's the part that really, honestly, outrages me.
right.
I mean, it's very disrespectful to do this in a church, but I mean, I think the bigger problem is the fact they try to shove their opinions and thoughts down everyone's throats, including children's.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
Yeah, it's tragic. Which is good segue to this next topic. Moms for Liberty co-founder, what's her name? Tiffany Justice. What a beautiful name. She's been holding it down, pushing back against the agenda. She was she was a guest on one of the major mainstream media platforms where she was um, basically interrogated and held her own and exposed a lot of these ideals by these people, nonsensical for just what they are, and that's just blasphemy and
right. When it comes to
pure evil.
When it comes to kids, right?
Yes. So they had her on there, and this is what she had to say. I wanted to get that clip of her where she was actually talking
news?
with Joy Reid. Yeah. Maybe I could find that for a second. Give me a second.
Type in her name, maybe Tiffany Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a short. Are there any shorts?
You think the border crisis is Joe Biden's fault?
No.
Nice to meet you.
I can't believe there aren't any shorts. Anyway, we'll just go through this real quick. Oh my goodness. I don't even want to click on this MSNBC link. Oh my goodness. Thanks, YouTube.
Well, I'm sure. Let's just see.
LGBTQ parents and parents of LGBTQ kids, do they have parental rights?
Every parent, Joy. Every parent means every parent has the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children.
And liberal parents? Do liberal parents have those rights as well?
All parents. Sure.
So let me point you to some statistics, because the question becomes then who gets to decide what all kids get to read. The Washington Post took a look at about 1,000 plus book challenges that were filed, and they found that they were filed nationwide by just 11 people. Each of these people brought 10 or more challenges against books in their school district. Together, these serial filers constituted 6% of all book challengers, but they were responsible for 60% of filings. In Florida, Tampa Bay Times, they found that of roughly 1,100 complaints recorded in Florida since July 2022, we're talking about more than 700 just from two counties, Escambia in the Western Panhandle and Clay County. Together, those are less than 3% of the public school enrollment, 600 of those complaints, 2 people. Why should 13 people get to?
I can just imagine that people have enough trust in their school that these schools wouldn't have these books. So, what's this lady's name? Joy Reid. She's trying to make the argument that only a percentage of parents have an issue with these books. I guarantee so many parents would assume that these horrible things wouldn't be in kids' literature.
Yeah.
To decide what books tens of thousands of children get to read?
Well, I'm thinking it's probably because those 13 people saw what some of the content was in the books. I mean, explicit, graphic, sexual content. And I'm happy to talk about some of that content if you'd like to.
Well, this is the question again. The books that are being banned, I want to give you just some...
Books are being banned.
No, hold on a second.
Well, no, Joy, but I want to be clear. No one's banning books. Write the book, print the book, publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right? We're talking about a public school library. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school. I did a FOIA records request, and I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools, if we're going to talk about banning, right? And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? No, why is no one out there protesting for, free the internet in schools?
Let me give you an example of some of the books that have been removed from shelves as a result of the activities of organizations like Moms for Liberty.
We're not going to talk like Moms for Liberty. We're going to talk specifically Moms for Liberty.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to have this conversation with you, Joel.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be specific about the actions of Moms for Liberty chapters.
100%.
Because I can't be possibly responsible for every single parent
but
in America,
your organization is the lead. You're the leading organization that's doing this. You have chapters all over the country, and other organizations are following your lead. And PEN America has listed, they have posted the list of books that have been removed from shelves as a result of these activities. Let me just read you a couple of them. Anne Frank's A Diary of a Young Girl. Mouse, which is a book about the Holocaust, a graphic novel. Genderqueer, a memoir. All Boys.
Isn't that interesting how they started off like that?
Of course.
The first book that they mentioned.
Of course they did. They can't help themselves.
Oh my goodness.
Of course,
that's
the
hilarious.
First Google. Of course, that's the first Google search.
That is hilarious. The authenticity of the Diary of Anne Frank all claims that the diary is a forgery and that it was written by others than Anne Frank herself are lies. Pretty straight to the point there about that, huh? Yeah. It's anti-Semitic to say that. Anyway, I'll let you guys look into that for yourself. We'll continue this video.
Boys Aren't Blue. Beloved, Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Ruby Bridges Goes to School. Slaughterhouse-Five, The Color Purple, Forever by Judy Blume. I could go on. These are books that are not only popular, in some cases are classics. Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. Let me give you an example.
Well, I'd like to answer your question.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, so you just mentioned a list of books. And so Moms for Liberty doesn't have like a national book list. There was never a list of books that we put out and said, parents, be concerned about these books, right? We didn't do it because we want our parents to be effective advocates. So when moms are going into the libraries in the schools, when they're seeing what their children have access to, when they go to speak to the superintendent or the principal, they have accurate information, right? They're
and where are they getting
advocates.
their information from?
You can just go online to a catalog in your children's library, and you can see what
without
books are
reading
available.
the books. What is one moment? What is booklooks.com?
I'm aware of a website called booklooks.com where parents can go and see some of the books that other parents are concerned about.
Booklooks.com has been used in Florida extensively in counties like, I used to live in Broward County. I lived there for 14 years.
Okay.
In counties like Broward, counties like Clay, counties like Escambia, Moms for Liberty activists are using booklooks.com. And it's essentially a cliff notes for books.
Yeah.
So you go through without even having to read the book. I'm going to just hold it up so our audience can see what it.
You have got to ask yourself why this lady is debating Tiffany Justice on any of this.
Right.
Even if you're not a parent, shouldn't you just be applauding her? You know?
Exactly.
Like the fact that she's trying to debate her.
She's a mouthpiece for the left.
So twisted.
Right.
What it looks like. This is the one for All Boys Aren't Blue, which is one of the books Moms for Liberty has pushed.
Oh, what the fuck?
Come on.
And Moms for Liberty co-founder, and just the title of this video that's, published on YouTube by MSNBC channel. It says, Moms for Liberty co-founder defends de facto book bans with graphic example.
Putting
like,
graphic in
yeah. It's like, come on. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Everyone should go and see the content in this book. That's such a good idea.
And so what happens is
it's such a good
you
idea,
can do
Joel.
keyword searches and find certain keywords.
Like rape.
You can find sure.
Or anal rape or dildo.
Just to say, of course her example also shows someone who's black on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
who is let's look more into this book. All Boys Aren't Blue. Let's see who the author is real quick, shall we? I hope this doesn't lead to where all the other ones lead. All Boys Aren't Blue, George M. Johnson. Let's see, George M. Johnson, Could we find out about George M. Johnson here?
His name is highlighted at the top. He's an activist, by journalist and activist.
In New Jersey, huh? Graduate. Alpha Phi. He's a frat dude, huh? Attended graduate school at Bow University. Oh, there's no early life on this one. I wonder what he was. Let me just I wonder if I could, just real quick. Just for fuck's sake.
That's a pretty average name.
I'm gonna take take that off. Try not to get banned here. NPR, huh?
It's a memoir. So is it about them? Is it about him?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess was a black man. Okay, we can continue that. I just had to check something because well, I wonder who he's influenced by. I bet you he loves Karl Marx. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Continue.
The content in this book, that's such a good idea.
And so what
Joy.
happens is you can do keyword searches and find certain keywords.
Like rape.
You can find sure.
Or anal rape or dildo.
You can find all sorts of
types
keywords.
of words. But like
wait, hold on, wait. Let me finish my question. Then
great,
you can answer.
sure.
I'm going to give you time to answer, but I got to ask you first.
No, yeah, I got the question.
And so what you find is the keywords that you find, the N word, anything, words like you just used, whether you'll get out of context passages from the book, and then based on that, Moms for Liberty members are going to places like Broward.
Oh, she's defending the book.
Out of context.
Right.
Like you could put dildo in all the other words she just said.
There's a perfect context for that. You're taking it out of context
for it. Are you kidding me? That's
Joy Reid.
I'm laughing, but sometimes I laugh because things are just so horrendous. My brain can't even understand where these people's mindset is.
Right. You think that's a
Broward
wig?
County School Board meetings.
It looks like she found it on the sidewalk and planted it on her head.
Is that horsehair?
I mean, come on.
I wonder what kind of beautiful horse was robbed of his pretty hair for this.
I mean, they didn't take much. It's like half on her head, dude.
Yeah, they didn't take much. I guess they gave some horse a trim. And Joy picked up the pieces.
Reading out of context passages from these books and then demanding that the school board remove them.
So what's
that
the
is the way.
Yeah.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates
She's so
have
badass.
to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for
do.
you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? I mean, that's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me questions.
Are you going to answer it, though?
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character?
You can't answer the question by asking another question. How? She's just trying to duck it.
I mean, I can't even imagine what she was told. Like, you must go in there, and whatever this lady says, you need to combat it. You know, like, what was she told? I mean, I just don't understand how you can't be applauding this mother who is just trying to protect children from stuff they don't need to know about, from stuff that they need protecting from. There's just no reason for things like this to be in books for public school. For kids in general. I mean, I feel like you have to be on some sort of pedophilic mindset yourself to like write a book like this for children.
Right. No question.
And it's award winning. Who the hell is handing out these awards? Probably this just disgrace.
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
You're supposed to answer the question, Joy.
Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information.
I would have never let her off the hook with that. I said, no, you're not answering my question.
Right. I mean, you can tell by her face. She's literally like, "You're kidding me right now?"
Yeah.
Information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very
doesn't
specific things.
Joy.
Here's my
We're
question.
talking about
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer.
Great. I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you, and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay.
Great.
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert.
She's not interviewing her.
Right. Interrogating her.
Seriously.
What I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
Mic drop.
Is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent, each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. So I want you to answer. I'm going to ask it one more time.
Right.
What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story? Why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced
and your proof of that is what?
You just said that
What's
if a child feels seen by this story. What I'm saying, Joy,
you're now making assumptions about it.
Joy, but if a child has been raped, we should do a lot better than put a book on a library
Now you're literally creating a story behind a child that you don't know. Let me show you a form. This is a form that can be obtained in Broward County, Florida.
Okay.
I'm going to show it to the audience, and then I'm going to show it to you.
She never answered the
This
question.
is called the
Also, think about how many people can't even be fully invested in their kids' upbringing. They have to bring their kid to public school because they don't have the means to maybe homeschool them, right? Yeah. So they're trying to put as much trust as they can in the school to not have things like this in their library. Mm-hmm. Like, this woman is an angel trying to bring awareness to people that, hey, look what they're putting in these schools. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine, I can just imagine if I was in the position where I wasn't aware of this, I would be so grateful for her. You know, if you are sick in your head and you want your kid to read these books, then buy them outside of it. And then that's just something sick and twisted anyway.
Yeah. I am grateful for her. She's
oh my gosh, this Joy is just unbearable.
Yeah, please, I'm going to hand it to you. So much. It's called the opt-out form.
Okay.
An opt-out form would allow any parent, because you said you are in favor of parental rights.
I am.
It would allow any parent to opt out of their child being able to take books out of the library without their parents' permission.
Okay.
So that Moms for Liberty,
but they're still going to be in the library.
Advocate that every school in America have an opt-out form so that a parent who doesn't want their child to access a
as if some other kid can't rent it and then like show it and they all like talk about it.
Seriously.
Like, that's horrible. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Book like All Boys Aren't Blue,
right?
That they can make that choice, because then each parent, including a liberal parent, a black parent, a parent who wants their child to read a book about African American history, then they want
children to read books.
Why not just opt out for yourself rather than tell other parents what they can and cannot?
First of all, I think what you're talking about here is a wonderful step in the right direction. We should be having conversations about this. This is about local control. A lot of these decisions are made at the local school board level, and that's where these decisions should be made. And there should be vibrant conversations about what's happening in our public schools and what kids have access to. Joy, however, maybe we could just put all the books with all the graphic sexual content, the dildos, the rape, the incest.
I'm sorry.
Let's do
I'm so sorry.
Let's do a back room. Let's put a curtain up in the library
First
like
of all,
they used
hold
to
on.
do
One
in
moment.
the video
One moment.
stores. Remember
the
when we were
books
little
that Moms
and you
for
would go to
Liberty.
the video store?
The books that Moms for
and they
Liberty.
put those
the books that Moms for
videos
Liberty.
with pornography.
I know that you. I've seen.
We could just do that in the public
library. I have seen tapes of what
that
Moms for
sound
Liberty does, and you all go into school board meetings
Joy,
and you
this
read
is a
graphic stuff.
disingenuous conversation.
No, it's not. Yes,
America
it is.
used to understand that there's
Beloved,
something called age-appropriate
beloved,
content.
Right, and here's my
We have
question again.
ratings on movies.
Again. Ruby Bridges Goes to School is on the list of books that Moms for Liberty has attempted to have removed.
Absolutely not.
It absolutely is. Let me ask about the people who are making the decision for
She's
other parents, because
deflecting.
you have not answered yet why a liberal parent or an African
Bitch,
American
you never answered the
Parents
question.
who are Democrats who are members
One
of our
moment.
organization.
But you're still trying to make decisions for all the kids. Here are some of the parents that are filing, or some of the your advocates. Bridget Ziegler, the Moms for Liberty co-founder, the wife of the recently ousted Florida Republican Party chairman, Christian Ziegler, who allegedly was involved in threesomes, same-sex threesomes. Mrs. Ziegler was removed from the school board at which she was a leader. You've had
She wasn't
Lauren,
removed
one
from the
moment.
school board.
Okay, you have Lauren DePaula. She was making book ban requests in Alachua County, but then records show that she and her husband didn't live there. They'd sold their home in that county. Carrie Blair in Tennessee,
Yo,
who was
what the fuck?
arrested for property theft charges after allegedly stealing from Target, skip scanning in Target. Why should those three people get to make decisions about what other children
That's
should be able to
unbelievable.
read? Other parents' children should be able to.
Yeah. She's talking about adults as if adults, like.
Right, you have a problem with adults having a sex scandal, but you're fine with kids learning about anal sex and dildos.
And that's
What?
so weird. She said, this woman who had a threesome. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I wonder, like, where was the scandal even in that? Like, what's wrong with adults doing what they do?
Right.
Like, how come no one on Epstein Island, like, gets brought up in MSNBC? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
We're talking about books, inappropriate books that are being, available to children that shouldn't be, and you want to talk about some adult's personal life? Like, that's crazy.
It's just insane that that's their argument.
Yeah,
You know? And it's insane that this is even an argument. I just can't believe someone would be against kids not seeing this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They have their whole life to learn about whatever the fuck they want. I mean, come on.
Yep.
Do you know that I served as a school board member from 2016 to 2020?
Are you going to answer my question?
Yeah, I'm
because
going
we don't
to.
have an endless time.
Joy, I'm going to answer your question, but I need
Bitch, you never answer her questions. Fuck you.
you to understand that when I was an elected representative, I would sit on that dais, and how dare I, sitting there as an elected representative, judge a parent when they would come to the podium to speak and advocate for their child? Because as we started this conversation, we'll end it. Every parent has a fundamental
And
right
so
to
a
direct the
parent-
upbringing of
so
their
let's
children.
make
And I
sure
would
that
not
we can
stand
end
and
on a-
judge
Let her
them
make her
Joy,
point
of agreement.
about a parent's
If a parent-
education
one
level,
moment, one
their
moment,
sexual
one moment.
orientation,
If a parent-
their race, their
if a
religion.
parent-
That is
Ma-
not what
Ms.
America's
Justice,
about.
I'm going to answer.
Mrs.
I'm going to
Justice.
ask my question,
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Justice. Mrs. Justice. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
If a parent believes that their child should be able to read Ruby Bridges,
We believe that that children should be able to read.
then
Ruby
how
Bridges. She's
can
an
Moms
American
for
hero.
Liberty insist that the school board take that book away and then say that a parent who wants the child to be able to read it must purchase it? That's essentially putting a tax on parents who want their children to read the book. Your kids get to have books for free that you agree with, but children who want to read, or parents who want their children to read books you don't like, have to purchase it. That doesn't sound
Joy,
fair.
did you know that in the city that we're sitting in, only a quarter of children are reading on grade level?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And so
Let me-
while
that's
we're
a great
having
point.
this conversation
That's a
about
great
books
point.
in libraries,
That's a
two
great
things should be
point.
happening.
That's a great
We
point.
should be talking about literacy rates and the fact that America's kids are not learning how to read, and we should be having vibrant conversations about what books should be in libraries.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
That lady is insufferable.
Yeah, she is.
I mean, shout out to Tiffany Justice. You're You're definitely bringing the justice.
Well, is there any way you can use a key to go back to the other screen? Or since we're kind of stuck here.
Which one?
Oh, there we go. Let's see. So that definitely was insufferable, as you said.
Oh yeah, so we're going back to the PBD podcast, where Tiffany Justice is also speaking on.
Yeah, and I haven't watched this one. This just came out today. I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow at work, and maybe, we'll dissect it a little bit. We'll touch on it in the next episode, but I highly recommend you guys go check it out. Shout out to PBD again for having this woman on. That's why it's my favorite podcast on YouTube. Some great clips on there just from yesterday. I highly recommend you guys check out yesterday's podcast as well. Let's see if we can just play a little bit of this video, see what they're talking about.
Gay that shows, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on your show. Am I pretty good?
Yeah.
All right. So there's a book that shows how to give hand jobs and blow jobs and tells, don't use your teeth and how to use two hands. And I don't think you, you might have it.
That one right there.
Yeah, it might be in here. Or actually the book I'm talking about is Let's Talk About It. But there's some really interesting things in here as well. And so I showed him the book and there are these pictures of drawn penises and hand jobs. And I was saying, Bill, here, look at it, hold it. Like, this is what we're talking about. Let's have an honest conversation. And he wouldn't even touch the book, wouldn't even look at it.
Why wouldn't he touch the book?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just much easier to pretend like it isn't happening if you're not actually holding the book and looking at the pictures.
This is the author of the book that she has in her hands. Juno Dawson is an English author of young adult fiction and nonfiction. Dawson's notable works include the book is Gay, Mind Your Head, and she is it is a transgender, I believe. That's the male form. That's the female form. So
yeah.
Do you want your children being influenced by this person? I know I don't.
I mean, the title of the book, This Book is Gay.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the amazing things kids could be reading about and learning about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're choosing to put in their libraries.
It's horrible. Anyway, back to the video.
Rob, can you pull up one of the things you have here on the excerpts on This Book is Gay? Can you pull this up? I think it's the third one that you have right there. Is this the one that we were talking about? Go up a little bit.
So this is in elementary schools,
right
this
there.
book?
Zoom in a little bit.
Not
That one,
surprised.
this is perhaps the most important skill. This is written by transgender author Juno. It's marketed as a best-selling exploration of sexuality and gender for young adults.
Young adults.
Dawson writes in one of the chapters, perhaps the most important skill set to master as a gay or bi-man is a classic timeless, the hand job, right? And then it continues talking about, what you do to finish off your partner. Being on the bottom makes a dude less manly. The states allow this book to be in their schools.
Yeah, taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for leftist propaganda.
What's their logic of saying it's okay to have this book in the school?
Well, I mean, it's really boiling down to what, Bill was saying was that there's a First Amendment issue. He kept saying this is a slippery slope. If you take this book out of school, then where do you stop? And, I just, when it comes to kids and sexualizing children,
it comes
that's
down
a
to what's
hard
right and
line.
wrong.
I'm willing to have a conversation, Patrick, about the fact that
I think you said it right when
course,
she did.
I think, if you start taking everything out of schools, then I think it's important to have an honest conversation about what should be taught, what the standards are, what the curriculum is, and we should talk about that, right? How do we decide what actually gets taught in school? It turns out it's not, the teacher just doesn't wake up every day and decide what to teach. There's a very clear-cut roadmap for teachers, especially in Florida, about the standards and the curriculum that's chosen to accompany those standards. But the truth is that this is just nonsense.
So who was the author, Rob, that they just...
As a society, I think we have, through how many years we're alive, we have come to the conclusion that pedophilia is wrong. It is morally wrong. And if this book isn't pedophilic, you know what I mean? It's an adult who wrote this book, who is writing about sexual acts, and is letting children read it. That is just 2024 pedophilia. you know?
Right.
I mean, what's the difference between some creep on the internet messaging your kid, telling them about hand jobs, and a book that's writing about it? What's the difference between those? To me, there is none. And I don't even have children, and this boils my blood.
So, in Germany, they had book burnings. Um, and for those that don't know, in Germany, that's where the first transgender surgeries were performed. Dora Richter is the first known trans woman to undergo complete male to female genital surgery. She was one of several transgender people in the care of sexologist Magnus Hirschfeld at Berlin's Institute for Sexual Research in 1922. Richter underwent orectomy. Yeah, so, this is the stuff that was going on in Germany. This the same stuff we're seeing today. I hate to harp on that.
Right, and this was in the very beginning of the 1900s, correct?
But this is where all this stuff began. And the degradation of the society. And Weimar conditions. So imagine then all these books that were coming out in Germany and how much of a shock it was.
Right.
There was, for these people. So let's see what this video talks about the book burning. I Throw the Books into the Flames by Karl Marx and Trotsky. And if you don't know who Karl Marx is and what Marxism is, I highly recommend you look into it. Check out Candace Owens' recent video about Bolshevism, or segment about it. It's a great short history of it, to say the least. Throw Books into the Flames by Karl Marx Trotsky, against moral subversion and disorder. For discipline and morality in the family and the state. I give to the flames the writings of Heinrich Mann, Ernst Gleiser, Erich Kästner. I give to the flames the writings by Sigmund Freud. Against the falsification of our history and the degradation of its great personalities. German men and women, the age of an exaggerated, ish intellectualism has now come to an end.
Eines überspitzten jüdischen Intellektualismus ist nun zu Ende. Damals,
at that time, 1918, materialism broke through. Marxism claimed the field. And then followed, in Germany, 14 years of unthinkable and indescribable material and spiritual ignominy. We have all experienced this disgrace firsthand. It was felt by every worker who lost his place on the machine. It was felt by every citizen who had his last penny taken out of his pocket. For 14 years, you had to endure the humiliations of this November Republic in a silent disgrace. There are no revolutions that reformed or overturned. Sorry, I missed that one. There are no revolutions that reformed or overturned, only the economy. Or only politics. Or only cultural life. Revolutions are breakthroughs of new worldviews. Just as it revolutionizes people, it revolutionizes things. Revolutions in power, politics must be prepared spiritually. A revolutionary must be able to do everything. He must be as great in tearing down the unvalues as he is in building up the values. Here, the spiritual foundation of the November Republic is sinking to the ground. But from these ruins will rise victoriously the phoenix of a new spirit. So there's some history you're not going to learn about when they keep forcing the Holocaust on you. They forget to mention what led up to it.
Right.
And that's the Weimar Republic.
Yeah.
Bolshevism, the Red Terror.
Right.
The Treaty of Versailles. The Balfour Declaration.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess it's kind of a sense of the same things are happening in today's age.
Right.
That were happening then.
Yep.
And I mean,
and so much information has been held back from us. You know, those who don't know the history are bound to repeat it.
Right.
As the saying goes. There's a war going on.
Absolutely.
And Weimar conditions will have Weimar solutions, as Ernst Zundel put it. Yeah, man. It's hard not to go here, you know, when we talk about these things, but it's so important to know the history.
Well, I mean, when we start to pick out puzzle pieces, you know, we try to put it all together, it all leads back to
right.
To you know who.
Mm-hmm. Check out Fred Lecter, in his examination on the gas chambers in Poland with Ernst Zundel. Great talk. Highly recommend you look into it.
Yeah, that's Fred, and then his last name is Leuchter.
Yes. Some more leftist propaganda here. They had this was something I saw shortly after President's Day. Biden, you know, they ranked him the 14th best president in our history in scholars' presidential rating. Scholars, that is. Do you think these people are scholars? Like, what does it mean to go to a university nowadays? Does it mean you've been educated and are ready to contribute in society? Or does it mean that you're just
I think you would just pay
indoctrinated
thousands of dollars to become indoctrinated,
right? And
to become brainwashed with these ideas, these idealizations.
Right.
I mean, what a slap in the face to some great presidents.
Yeah.
Come on.
The rankings released Sunday, a day before President's Day, placed Biden as the 14th best president in history, among the top third to serve in the Oval Office. That stands in stark contrast with his approval rating of 41% last month, the lowest at this point of any presidency since Gallup began tracking the metric under President Dwight D. Eisenhower in the 1950s. Biden is seeking re-election this year and is likely headed for a rematch against former President Donald Trump, whom the presidential rankings placed last for the second consecutive time. The survey conducted online in late 2023 combined the responses of 154 experts, current or recent members of the American Political Science Association Presidential Politics Division, as well as scholars who recently published peer-reviewed research in related journals or academic presses. Respondents were asked to rate presidents on a scale of 0 to 100, 0 for failure, 50 for average, and 100 for great. It was the third installment of the rankings, with the previous two being released in 2015 and 2018. the top 3 presidents were Abraham Lincoln. Oh, because he freed the slaves, of course, right?
Oh, right.
Franklin D. Roosevelt and George Washington. Roosevelt and Washington flipped spots since 2018 because George Washington owned them slaves. Trump, 10, a score of 10.92, I guess. The first president ever to be impeached twice, ranked lower than number 43, Andrew Jackson, whose Reconstruction policies after the Civil War were so unpopular that they paved the way for his own party impeaching him, and number 44, James Buchanan, who presided over the country just before the Civil War. Biden's score was 62, and the Los Angeles Times announcing the survey results, political science professors Justin Vaughn of Central Carolina University and Brandon Rockets University of Houston noted that presidents are traditionally considered great if they led the country through moments of national transformation or major crises, and expanding the institutions of the presidency, military victories, economic growth, assassinations, and scandals also affect opinions on presidential performance, they noted. Oh, man. What a shit show. Bill Clinton, number 12. One of the most despicable human beings I've ever heard about.
How is Obama number 7?
Barack Obama, number 7. Where do they put Bush? George W. Bush, 32.
Trump is literally the last one.
Yeah, they hate Trump.
That's
I tell you.
insane.
January 6th. It was worse than 9/11. Should we go over that one again? Yeah, it's absolute madness. Yeah. And let's just see who all these illegals that are pouring into our country, let's see who they're voting for.
With the 2024 election coming up, many of these migrants may have the possibility of voting, so I wanted to ask who they will be voting for.
Y si podría votar, ¿quién votaría?
Por supuesto que and if you could vote, who would you be voting for? Of course, Biden.
Por supuesto que por Biden. ¿Tiene el derecho para votar?
Do you have the right to vote? Those that enter legally have access to vote.
Si tiene el privilegio para votar, ¿para
You
quién
have the privilege to vote. Who are you going to vote for?
va a votar?
Joe Biden, he's helping us here. I think the majority are for Biden, they said.
Next to the hotel, a few people were charging pesos, and I wanted to see what...
He's the one helping us. No, he's the one hurting us.
Right.
To say about what is going on.
Why it's glitching so hard
Staying
right
inside
now?
this hotel.
Really?
Yeah, they're all getting free rent inside of the hotel.
Because we are
these immigrants, and it's
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the audio on that one, but yep,
Yeah,
they're all
you
voting
guys
for
heard
Biden.
it.
Well,
Insanity.
yes, it is. What a crazy world we're living in, right, Grace?
Seriously. I mean, can only just pray for the day that it turns around, right?
Yeah, I'm optimistic.
As am I.
I want to get some Patrick Ben-David podcast gear. The future looks bright.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite interesting. You were saying the other day, it's kind of an interesting merch
Campaign,
drop or
right.
campaign, right?
Yeah,
But I
it
mean,
is.
we have to keep hope and believe that the future is bright, right?
Right. And at least that will spark some conversation to where we can talk about this type of stuff.
Right,
you know.
right.
And hopefully hopefully people that like-minded individuals who have been, getting information from the same source, or other people who watch the Patrick Bet-David podcast will be able to talk to them, and I don't know. That's why I like wearing my We the People hat, stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean,
Good to
even
click
if you
with
just
like-minded individuals.
right, even if you just spark a thought in someone's mind, Yeah. Well, this has been one of our longest episodes so far.
Yep. We were gonna keep it under an hour, but here we are at an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I feel like we touched on some great things, made some great points, and
Absolutely.
we'll have a lot more to talk about next time as well too. This is
I mean,
crazy world.
I think it's never ending.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Getting this down a little more. Hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. Figuring things out with the video. Hopefully you've been able to watch it. We're on Odyssey, Rumble,
and
all major platforms for
yeah,
podcasts.
all major platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
But if you want to watch us, check us out. If you haven't yet, if you've just been listening, check out the videos on Odyssey and Rumble.
Yep, it's just the same name as our podcast, which is the Ethereal Alkalarian Podcast. Yeah. And also follow us on Gab if you are on there.
Definitely. Shout out to Grace for putting in all the hard work to get this out and making it what it is.
We're a good team over here.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. This was episode number 5. And we hope to see you for episode number 6.
Until next time.
Until next time.